Hi, Ollie and Elliot. I have a new book for you. It's called Bernadette the Brave, written by Allison Zapata, illustrated by Bill Mengenhart. From the moment she was born, Bernadette was unique, but under her mother's protection and guidance, she never felt out of place. After all, she could do everything her brothers could do and mostly better. All that changed in an instant, the day she left the nest to head out on her own. Only then did she realize she wasn't like the other birds and struggled to do the things they took for granted. This is the story of how Bernadette became Bernadette the Brave. And this book is signed by the author. To Oliver and Elliot. Be brave. Always be you. Signed Allison Zapata. This book is for the girl who can't see that she's beautiful. This book is for those who struggle with things that others find easy. This book is for the boy who's just like his friends on the inside, if only they could learn to see beyond the outside. This book is for the ones who doubt themselves and their exquisite strength. This book is for the one who needs a hand and for the hand that grabs hold. This book is for you. And this is a dedication by the author, and I'll let you read that when I give the book to you. Bernadette the Brave. Look at the picture first. The trees were working overtime to welcome back their leaves, while sparrows were busy building homes in tiny nooks and eaves. Flowers were finally waking from a long winter's nap as the woodpeckers played their favorite song, tap, tap, tap. The sunny skies and small bird cries could only mean one thing. The time had come to bid winter farewell and wave hello to spring. Early one morning atop a tall oak tree, a cardinal felt her tiny babies fighting to break free. The first egg hatched, then 3 more, and just like that, she was a mama to 4. See the babies? In the beginning, things were normal, and nothing was the matter. She kept her babies warm and clean and fed them when they chattered. Just 2 weeks later, the time had come to send them on their way. She said goodbye one by one and watched them fly away. See the birds flying away? All 4 fledglings ventured out, anxious to explore. They searched for food and stopped to play. They spread their wings and soared. Aren't they pretty? That evening, she watched her brothers finish dinner, all full and feeling well. But this little girl wasn't so lucky and had yet to crack a shell. It felt impossible, no matter how hard she tried. So, with nothing else left to do, she perched on a branch and cried. Up until then, everything seemed fine, and she didn't think herself unique. But later that night, as she fell asleep hungry, she knew her future was bleak. Aw, poor Bernadette. Early the next morning, she was awoken by the sun and her tummy's great big rumble. She wiped the sleep away from her eyes, then off to the bird bath she stumbled. Two others had beaten her there, a pigeon and a grackle. One of them yelled, "What's wrong with your face?" and they both let out a cackle. "You look so strange, different than anyone I've seen," the other one chimed in, being just as mean. "That's not nice, is it?" Scared and confused, she lowered her head to find her reflection staring back. The bottom of her beak was long and scraggly, and down the middle ran a crack. The top of her beak was even worse. It was nothing much more than a sliver. As she thought to herself, "I'm in serious trouble," her body began to shiver. The days crept by slowly, but quickly turned into weeks. She got by on fallen seeds from other birds' beaks. Over time she grew weaker and felt her energy fade. It was much too hard to walk or fly, so she spent most days in the shade. Oh no, poor Bernadette. She doesn't look very good, does she? Her beautiful plumage had lost most of its color, once a vibrant tangerine, and little by little her feathers fell out until she had nothing left to preen. Ashamed of the way she looked, she kept her head hung low, and just when she thought things couldn't get worse, her beak continued to grow. Comfort came only in dreams, when she had friends and the perfect face, but sure enough, when she opened her eyes, she was still the same disgrace. Poor Bernadette. Her beak looks funny, doesn't it? That morning started out normal, just like any other day. Little did this bird know how much luck was headed her way. As she sat quietly in the shade to escape the heat, out of the corner of her eye appeared a small pair of feet. "Hi there, pretty birdie. Why do you look so sad?" Startled, she glanced up to see a curious-looking lad. He has tennis shoes like you and like Ollie and Elliot. You guys have shoes like that, don't you? She spun around to see who this pretty bird could be. She looked up and down, left and right, and then up in the tree. "Funny girl, I'm talking to you," the boy said with a grin. "Now come on over and have a bite. You're looking awfully thin." She gave it a go and tried cracking the shell like 100 times before, but 101 was exactly the same. It fell uneaten to the floor. Look, she can't crack the shell, can she? "Wait, you can't eat that, huh? Now I understand." So he picked them up one by one and cracked them with his hands. After breaking them into pieces, he tossed her the perfect bite. She tried once more and succeeded, much to their delight. A second bite followed, then 3, then 4, and she ate and ate until she could eat no more. "Come again tomorrow and I'll bring you something yummy," explained the nice boy who had just filled her tummy. The next day she jumped when her dinner began to wiggle. "Those are worms for you to eat," her friend said with a giggle. Worms are funny, aren't they? Over the weeks, her visits grew longer. Her color slowly brightened and her body became stronger. Along their journey, he taught her ways that she could help herself and make the most out of her life and this hand that she'd been dealt. They were unlikely friends, the kind boy and feathered fighter, who'd somehow learned to trust each other and formed a bond that couldn't be tighter. "You know, I've wanted to name you since the first day we met, so from now on, if you approve, I'd like to call you Bernadette." "No, wait, Bernadette the Brave. Now tell me, sweet friend, what do you say?" Bernadette answered with a smile and felt her sadness slip away. The joyful moment was soon interrupted by a blue jay's sudden squawk. See the blue jays there? When Bernadette looked up, flying right at her was a hungry Cooper's hawk. Oh no! The boy threw his body as hard as he could and all in one fell swoop guarded Bernadette and shouted so loudly he scared away the coop. When peace returned, it brought something familiar she felt with just one other, unconditional love and complete acceptance, like that she'd received from her mother. Our moms always love us no matter what, don't they? So you do your grandmas and grandpas. Over time, Bee stopped hating herself and feeling so ashamed. With her head held high, little by little, confidence was claimed. There were days she felt pretty and thought her beak was kind of cool. The others also noticed and stopped being so cruel. She learned to speak up and how to stand her ground. The name she'd been given indeed fit her well, for it was bravery that she'd found. Bee longed to thank her friend for the kindness he'd bestowed, and for always sticking by her down a long and difficult road. She told him with her eyes all the things she had to say, but did he understand her? She could only hope and pray. Her question was answered by the sound of his voice fighting to hold back tears. "What you've given to me I could never repay, not in a million years." He thanked Bernadette for the many lessons learned and vowed to spend the rest of his life making sure these gifts were returned. It was then that she knew no words were needed to communicate her affection, because deep inside they were exactly the same and had a natural connection. Friendship can be found in the most unexpected places. It comes in all shapes and sizes, reaching across species and races. With the help of her friend, Bee learned how to survive, and by believing in herself, she'd started to thrive. She realized beauty didn't mean always doing as she was told, acting like everyone else, or fitting a certain mold, because real beauty comes from a different place, like helping others, loving yourself, and fighting back with grace. Bee taught her friend to open his eyes and see the world as a whole, instead of closing them to the pain of others just because it hurt his soul. Through her, he had learned all creatures are worthy and deserve a helping hand, and that it's especially the smallest, those without a voice, who need someone to take a stand. So look, he's selling lemonade for 50 cents for the animal rescue shelter. Isn't that nice? With the sun shining on her and luck by her side, everything was finally clear. What challenged her the very most was the reason she was here. She no longer felt cheated or wished for a different fate, because she knew what she'd been sent for and that her purpose was great. She was chosen for this mission above all the rest. Could others accept Bee for who she was? This was her test. That evening, while perched at the top of the tree, the same one where life had started, Bee thought about how happy she was, no longer broken-hearted. When she asked herself what more she needed, she could think of only one thing, and right at that moment, a few branches over, a red cardinal began to sing. And you know what the cardinal song is, don't you? Pretty, pretty, pretty. So when you hear that pretty, pretty, you know there's a cardinal. And this is the story of Allison and Bernadette, because you see, Bernadette was a real bird. You can call it fate, dumb luck, or divine intervention, but something brought these two together to tell their story. Allison, an avid feeder of birds in her backyard, noticed a unique female cardinal among the bunch. It didn't take long for Allison to realize that despite her persistence and determination, this bird wasn't able to eat on her own like the others. With equal determination, Allison began experimenting with various meal combinations in hopes it would help the sickly bird survive. Eventually, Allison gave her the name Bernadette, which means brave as a bear. Chronicling her adventures with Bernadette, Allison posted updates to her online readers about Bernadette's condition. Interest in this little bird quickly grew, and in time, these updates became a daily necessity for many. It was obvious to Allison that this story needed to be told because, young or old, it's impossible not to fall in love with the spirit of the tiny bird known as Bernadette the Brave. Look at those pictures. Whoops. Look at those photographs of the real bird. She does have a funny beak, doesn't she? But she is very brave, and her friend Allison helped her. Isn't that nice? I love you, boys. See you next time.